I guess it would help if I turn the camera on. Good morning, everybody. Welcome Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Just got my coffee brewed, so I literally ran and sat down in the chair to get here on time. Thanks for tuning in. If you are, let's get the housekeeping out of the way. If you're watching on the replay, thank you for watching. But if you want to join us live, we go live Monday to Friday, 8 o'clock Pacific time to about 8:45. Been known to get chatty though towards the end and go on a bit longer. Always good. Good way to start the morning for me anyways, and hopefully for you as well. So as the coffee crew rolls in, we'll say our good mornings, but I need a sip of coffee. I was up early today. Cat got me up early. So there we go. Need coffee. Good morning. Candace is here. Good morning. Good morning. Coffee and donut. Donut would be good. Donut would be good. Unfortunately for me, just coffee and oatmeal. Nothing too exciting. Let's go with your joke. These are good. These are bad. So bad. What is it? What do a detective and a frog? What do a detective, a frog, and the stock market have in common? They all know that the best way to stay afloat is by staying one hop ahead of the game. And that's the hard part, staying a hop ahead, because sometimes you just don't know what the heck to do. That's the one thing. You want to try and stay ahead, and then you get ahead, and then you get kicked back. It just seems to be the name of the game sometimes. But hopefully everybody's portfolio is doing okay. We'll get into that because there's going to be. That was one of the things I wanted to kind of bring up is my portfolio. Emojis. We got to have the emojis for sure. And Stan's here. Good morning. Good to have you here. Always make it first thing. No one's been able to beat Candace this week, but there's always that chance. She's the early bird. She's here before I am. MC, good morning. Made it at the beginning. Good to have you here. As always good. And Chad's here. Good morning. Good morning, investors. Yeah, we are. That is the thing. If anybody's watching for the first time on the live, we're a group of pretty much, I think, all Canadians for the most part on the crew. We talk about our investing, TFSAs, market, all that kind of fun stuff. It's fun for us, maybe not fun for other people, but if you're new to investing, it'd be great to have you just comment, say hi. It's a good group of people. If you have questions, put them in the chat. We'd be happy to. If I can't answer them, guaranteed someone of the coffee crew in the chat will be able to at least steer you in the right direction and get you on the right track. So yeah, that's exactly it. You've been down for the count. Hopefully you're feeling better, Candace. I should actually say. Hopefully you're starting to kind of get on the mend. I know sometimes if you get sick, those things can just kind of stick around for it just don't want to go away. So hopefully you're starting to be on the mend and you'll be back filming videos and doing all that stuff. But sometimes the break is good too. It's okay to take some time off. YouTube will still be here when you get back. That's for sure. Tomorrow. Oh, okay. No fun. That's no fun. X-rays and blood tests and stuff like that. I do not like getting blood tests. I'm not a needle fan. I usually, I thankfully don't have to go do it very often, but the times I have had to get blood tests, usually you're not feeling well either. Sometimes, when you're going into there to get your test done, and they end up taking some out of you, and I usually need the juice afterward because I just go like completely pale, and it doesn't suit me well. Actually, don't even like talking. Actually, let's change the subject. I don't even like talking about it. So that's I've always been. I don't know why I've been afraid of needles. All kinds of needles. Don't like it. I think it was from the time when I was a kid. And I remember going to the dentist and get cavities and stuff, and then all of a sudden they'd freeze you. But for the longest time, I didn't realize that when they were putting the freezing in your mouth that it was an actual needle. And then one time I actually saw it, and I think that's what set me off for the rest of my life. So there we go. Hopefully everybody is doing well. Thanks again for joining us live. On the note of kind of Candace mentioning about staying one hop ahead of the game. I'm going to be doing a few changes to my portfolio, actually, and I've been working on it for a little bit, and I am going to be kind of moving some moving some things around from different places and doing a bit more of a good. I've kind of figured it out with finance wise, and I'm going to put a big chunk lump sum into my TFSA, which I'm able to, which is nice. It's awesome. So you'll see that will be kind of next week. I just have to kind of get the money all moved around and all that kind of stuff, and just kind of diversify some stuff a little bit into there. So you'll see that's kind of what's going to be some changes with my portfolio. We'll still continue on. I'm still able, like budget wise, thankfully, is carry on with the dollar cost averaging that I'm doing, so that's going to carry on. But just was able to kind of be able to move a extra chunk over there, so that will work out. You'll see that kind of next week. Obviously the channel members will see once that actually happens. I will put that into the community tab. You'll be able to see what kind of happens, and we can obviously talk about it on the live stream if people are interested on that. So pretty happy of being able with being able to do that. Fortunate, so that's good. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Oh, that's bad. That's so bad. The rooster, so bad, so bad. Oh yeah, your hot one. You got your sauces. You're gonna do your hot one challenge for how many? I think you're just over 1,700 subscribers, if I'm not mistaken, Candice. That'll be fun. Get you on there for 2,000. That's nice. 2,000's a good milestone. Definitely a good milestone. I mean, just getting going on YouTube's a good milestone. Getting started, you get your first, like 10 subscribers, and you're like, yes. And then you're slowly working, grinding to 1,000, which seems to take absolutely forever. And then it's the next milestone, 2,000. You start counting them up in thousands, and it's awesome. So 1,789, that is awesome. You're beating me. So if anybody's watching, please subscribe. I think I'm just over 1,200. I think I'd have to double check. Let's see. 1,291, so almost 1,300. That's awesome. Yeah, so that's good. Getting there slowly but surely. It seems to be in a bit more of a bear market, less people watching, but the channel's doing okay. I'm happy with where we're at. I mean, I like doing these live streams. It's quality, not quantity. So that's all good. But 1,789. So you're nearly there. So you're gonna do a live stream eating like the hot wings. There's that YouTube channel that does the interview / hot wing tasting with hot sauce. But I'm not sure if you're gonna do wings. You're gonna do something else, I think you said. But that's awesome. And yeah, hi to Jill. Dropped off lunch, must be nice. Get delivery when you're sick. It's a benefit. So good. Nadia, can't stay long. That's okay. Hey, good to have you here. Always good. Just to pop in and say hi is good. Hot meatballs. That'd be tasty. You'll get to 2,000. You'll get to 2,000 in no time. I need to maybe get some kind of contest going to get the subscribers up, but we'll see. It's okay. It's all good. Yeah, all good. Now, if anybody has anything in particular, as me racing around this morning making coffee and getting going, I didn't pull up too many articles. Nothing's really jumped out at me. Lots of earnings coming out this week. Google is one of them. Google is the one that I'll be starting to invest in with that, kind of more of like not a typical name for it, but YouTube challenge a little bit. That will be one of the stocks that I'll be purchasing every month. Will be Google Alphabet, and the other one looks like it's ahead. It's ahead by a hair. Is Fortis to do? I need a food channel. Yeah, I used to be a chef, so I did do food a little bit during 2020 when everybody was stuck at home. I did live cooking on did some live streams on the other channel. It was a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work. The thing Candice and Nadia with YouTube is YouTube takes time. It's work. Add on to food preparation to that, and you have it's like double the work. Whereas, well, this is fairly easy to be able to basically plug plunk yourself down in front of a camera and a microphone and have some conversation. A lot easier. Where the food part is definitely some preparation. Is good 45 minutes beforehand, getting everything ready, making sure your kitchen's clean, number one. And but yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to do that at the time. Obviously, when people couldn't come over and all that kind of stuff, so it was a good way to connect with. It was a good way to connect with friends. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, exactly. So lots of earnings, right? I think Google is today after market. That was kind of one I was going to watch. Well, Tesla had theirs last week. So there you go. 40% are reporting this week. So yeah, it's interesting. It hasn't been a great. I mean, it hasn't been a great week. I'm trying not to pay. I don't say not pay attention, but I'm trying not to like overlook and overthink on my portfolio all the time and wondering what the heck is going to happen. I'm just carrying on like with the some might say boring. Hopefully it just consistency. That's where I'm kind of at, and not trying to be smart or anything like that. But I know MC, you were waiting. I think still on a lot of I think a lot of people maybe are on a lot of cash to kind of like deploy if they're able to. Have you started to do that, MC? Let us know. I think it was there was wasn't it you were going to be putting into, I forget what you were going to be buying. You bought, I think it was last week or week before, one of the index ETFs, I think, if I remember correctly. Let us know in the comments if you're still kind of wait till after earnings. I don't know. That's the thing. Sometimes you just don't know. It's interesting how my investment kind of, I don't know, style, I guess, is kind of it's changed a little bit. It's become more, I'm trying to become more patient is what I'm trying to do. And sticking with my core stuff, trying to build up. Obviously there's some volatile holdings I have. It's just kind of getting through that, the downs on those kind of things you have to keep it in your head, right? That this is for long term, right? Like we talked about like a little bit about retirement yesterday, and like when we plan to retire and everything else. And it was like, it's long, like I'm just trying to say long term, and you can't kind of worry necessarily about, this year or this week or like that kind of thing. It just, so we go for that. Scott, steaks and stocks. That'd be a good one. Steaks and stocks. I haven't had a steak in a long time. Jerksy beef, good name for beef with steak. But I have a barbecue. But it's funny, when I moved, I still have it. It's wrapped up on the patio. Now that it's coming into spring, I will start to fire up the barbecue again. I like barbecuing chicken, all that kind of stuff. But probably we'll get some steaks eventually. Steaks are expensive though now. It's so crazy with the price. I'm happy to do some chicken marinated and have that barbecued, or grill the corn, all that kind of stuff. It's all good. Do some barbecuing. Yeah, I need to just brush it, get it unpacked and brushed off, and get going. So you were about 40% cash, went all in, XEQT. That's that's the one I'm really have my eye on. MC is XEQT. So you're all in, but yeah, you did kind of buy. That's been kind of on my little watch list there. It was down a little bit. It's come back up a little bit. So bought the dip with a little bit. That's awesome. And that's really kind of what I'm looking at. I'm still kind of figuring out if I want to do XEQT going forward, or they have also the XAW, which is basically excludes Canada, and then keep on investing in VDY. That's where I'm kind of still a little bit seesawing between the two, because I do like VDY. It's been good to me, and it's kind of nice. I mean, obviously, everything kind of works out in the wash in terms of if you're getting quarterly distributions or monthly distributions. But the one thing I kind of like about VDY is you get the monthly distributions, and it if anything, it kind of just gives you a bit of a boost in terms of something's happening with your portfolio, and it just kind of helps basically gets you motivated because you see it coming in faster, every month. So it gives you kind of something to look forward to every month and something to do with your portfolio. So sitting in cash for too long. I'll read the rest if, it all fits. So it's not a great idea. A person can become crippled waiting for an entry point, but there will never be a perfect entry point screaming and shouting at you. That's the truth. That's what I've kind of found out. It's just kind of, if you're in for the 10, 15 years, it's probably, just makes sense to invest it, right? That's I think what kind of works. It's the biggest thing too is if you're sitting on it for too long, you start to overthink, right? You start to overthink it, and you possibly will miss out on opportunity, like you said, during that whole bank run thing. If you were overly cautious, you wouldn't have been able to take advantage of that. But the downside too, like I've read kind of articles on whether you do if you have X amount of dollars, whether just to put it all into something. Like let's just pick on we'll just say XEQT because it's obviously a broad index fund. Really, it's diversified. So putting it all in one, all at once, instead of buying it incrementally. Because what'll happen a lot of times, sometimes if you have it to do it incrementally, excuse me, you'll sometimes overthink it, and you won't do it for whatever reason. There might be a drop, one day that you are supposed to be investing. If you might just start to overthink things and mess with things, and it's sometimes better just to do it all at once. So, XAW or VXC. I've seen the VXC as well, MC, and then I'll have to check that one out a bit more. I've just been kind of going back and forth looking at the holdings and everything else, and I think I'm leaning towards. So maybe I'm overthinking it, right? XAW keeping VDY, but I'll look at the Vanguard one as well. I think the XAW, if I'm not mistaken, is maybe a little bit, not that it's going to make a huge difference with amounts and stuff, but is the fee on it, I think, might be a little bit less, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe they're the same now. I remember reading a little bit about that. I have to dig into that. And that is absolutely true. It's continually learning from mistakes. It is. But I think if you look at it and you're investing, it's not a mistake to try at least to try, right? Obviously some things picks, for whatever reason, they work out, they don't work out. You have to remember the biggest thing is going and knowing what it's remembering long term. And I think the biggest thing is never, I still have to think of, if my portfolio that I'm investing into my TFSA is for my retirement, I still have, probably 20, if all things considered, probably at least 20, almost 20 years, if not 20 years. I'm 47 now, so I'm going to at least work till 65. So that's 18 years. Good chance I'll probably still do some kind of work, maybe a little bit longer, maybe more part-time, that kind of thing. But so about 20 years left. So I think if you think about it long term, putting it in, I think you're still in better shape than having not invested. Even if some of the things are down for the count right now, it's just the way it is. But yeah. So you will see on the community tab once I kind of decide. But again, the live streams kind of get it first, but it's probably leaning towards XAW. I'm not planning on selling any of my VFV as well. Obviously there'll be some overlap, but I think it's fine to kind of have that. I'm happy. It's not like my portfolio is huge by any means, so it will be okay to maybe be a bit doubled up. That's kind of where I'm leaning, just to kind of leave that because it's doing okay. So happy with it. But yeah, so that's my plan, and hopefully it's not a mistake. Hopefully it's not a mistake. The big thing. And as far as that, I also do have to work on getting my this coming up as well. It makes you think about it always come tax time, because I'm commission based, right? So I always get an ugly tax. I always get an ugly tax bill, no matter what. I have to do the installments and all that kind of stuff, but you never seem to pay enough. So one thing I have to work on this for this next year as well is get my RRSP bumped around. So just been looking at the whole picture for the last little bit and figuring all that out. Big thing is as well, because I don't have my car payment, so that I have to make sure that I'm like using that instead of, because if it's just if I don't divert those, if you don't, this is the one thing that shows about, invest as you like on autopilot a lot, because if the money's in your account, you always seem to tend to spend it, or for whatever reason. Whereas if you're investing, we talked a little bit about yesterday, is having it come off your paychecks, like you don't even miss it, right? So getting that sorted out, and getting all my kind of whole kind of portfolio worked out, basically, because it's kind of been 2 years. Excuse me. It was April that I started 2021, so it's kind of on that two-year mark to kind of, so each year kind of just to go over everything to make sure it's still on the right trajectory. Yeah. I used to have a lot in your non-registered, but wanted to put it in a global ETF to hold for decades. Ripped the band-aid off, sold. Sold it when it was up, and you have to pay the capital gains this year. Yeah, that's the one thing. If you have any kind of investments in a non-registered account, um, it it yeah, that's the problem. Is if you make money, you will pay capital gains on it. That's the one thing to kind of look at. And if you have, I mean, obviously, people watching, as you know, if an investment is in your TFSA, as long you have your limit of what you can put in your TFSA, but obviously any capital gains are not taxed in your TFSA. So something to be aware of if you're holding certain types of stocks that, with that. The hard part, like if you have stuff in non-registered accounts, right, MC, is if you want to move them over to something, right? And sometimes you might be up quite, like you said, holding something like that in the S&P for a long time, and all of a sudden it's up substantially. But you had the room in your TFSA or possibly RSP or something like that. You sell for a profit. Sometimes you don't want to sell, right? Like it's a catch-22, because if you're selling, you're paying your capital gains tax, and if there's no losses to offset it, then you're paying. The CRA, they get their money somehow, one or the other, but sometimes like you said, you just have to rip the band-aid off. I'm just gonna adjust my camera here one sec. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, it's a long term. There you go. I mean, it's like you said, learning from mistakes, and it's a long term process. Non-registered account planning for decades. It's important to make sure it's set up for the long term. That's for sure. And that's, I think, where possibly down the road for me getting well, I mean, this channel is super helpful. These streams are helpful for learning and stuff like that. But I think sometimes too is getting a second opinion from a financial advisor of some kind, to make sure you're kind of on the right track. That might be beneficial, depending, especially as, I mean, the big thing for me is what I'm going to have to do in 15 years to make sure I'm set up, right? And make sure you're set up for the future when I'm not working, and I still have to manage my portfolio to make sure it's performing right and optimized for what I need. Yeah, it's like never ending, right? It's like a part-time job trying to, but it's fun. It's fun. I enjoy it. It's fun to kind of to see it. It's fun to see it. It's fun to see it grow. That's for sure. Even if the short term isn't as up or as green as you wish it was. We all wish everything was going up, 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 up. But I mean, that wouldn't be a good thing either. But it's nice to see when you pull like step back from it and look at the longer term of the growth of your portfolio, especially if you're just doing small, incremental deposits. After a year, after 2 years, it's like it's really substantial. It really starts to snow. The cliche is it really starts to like snowball, and you can see that. I mean, I mentioned I don't know if you're here on the stream yesterday, MC, when I mentioned like. I can look at my portfolio and it's there's certain stocks that are down, and if it's down in overall, but I'll also look at it as well as if I hadn't been investing for those 2 years, that money probably would have been spent as well. Because it's not like, I mean, you don't want to lose money, don't get me wrong, but you still see the growth and the future opportunity and the future gains that will eventually happen, as long as you're still carry on with your investing even though it's down, and then you learn from mistakes, right? And that's you wouldn't, if you didn't make mistakes, you wouldn't learn anything. So optimizing asset allocation now is about 92% XEQT. If Zach is watching, he'll be very happy to see that you're 92% XEQT. 8% in individual stocks, which I might eventually move to XEQT also. Currently building a GIC ladder for 5 years of living expense. Oh, okay, that's a good people. I think GICs, you don't hear as much. Well, you still hear a little bit, but GICs were all the rage this past year, right? Because obviously the rates of return for them were good compared to the past. So I think more people getting into GICs for certain investments. I'm actually seeing that more and more with work. Is some people have their, obviously because people are buying, if they're buying homes or saving for homes and that kind of stuff. A lot more people have put their like their home savings down payment into like, even if it's a cashable GIC, putting into something like that because they're getting better interest than what you would get from a savings account. So yeah, that's probably not a bad thing. I think I think while the rates are down a little bit on the GICs from their kind of peak, but still decent, right? To lock that in. And 92, so 8, I guess the thing with 8% individual stocks is it's kind of fun to play, right? I think that's what I've learned. It's kind of fun to take those, not educated gambles, on individual things, but you'll have the volatility, right? More ups and downs in anything that's individual, because sometimes you just can't. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense what things happen with an individual company, and anything could kind of happen. That's the problem with having all your eggs in one basket, right? So I mean, for me, I try and keep in my portfolio with individual shares are typically about no more than about 5% of my overall portfolio. Some are a little bit higher. My Tesla holdings are a little bit higher, but I think for long term that's good. I mean, that's where I want it to be with that one, and that's my comfort zone. You don't want to go all in on one thing. don't go crazy on one individual share, that's for sure. So studies show bond versus GIC ladder doesn't make a difference. GIC ladder, in your opinion, is better for psychology since volatility is zero. Yeah, I would say that too. It's I would say if I was to do that, I don't have any GICs, but I would probably do the same thing, because you're kind of guaranteed, right? You can set it and forget it, and you kind of know what's going to happen. It's yeah, I do have bonds in my portfolio, in my managed portfolio that I have, my Lira, my RSP that I have. It has a bond component, and let it do its thing. So, but not doing anything kind of manually in terms of laddering GICs, that kind of stuff. If I have a cash account for me is just sitting in high interest savings account. So Pretty standard. I didn't buy any GICs, that kind of thing. So. You're an individual for 15 years. That's, yeah. You probably go. I think it's, if the one thing I found, if you have too many individual stocks, it becomes a lot more work to manage, right? To keep an eye on. And I get where you want to have a more checked out approach. You got to know when enough is enough. Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's interesting how, and I'm seeing it now from how my portfolio is. Like, you start off with individuals. It's like it seems like when you start as an investor, right? You start off putting things into, for example, the robo-advisor side. You start to do that and you think, okay, this is good, but I want to try and do more myself, because it's you have an interest in it, right? So you probably start off and you buy, like we talked about yesterday, like our first stock we bought, so you always buy your first individual stock, which is awesome. Like, you're investing, it's great, it feels great, and then you buy other ones, and then it just becomes a lot to manage. And then you kind of switch to, like, possibly an ETF. Like, for example, I mean, I had my ETF, the S&P, the Vanguard at VFE, and then VDY covered Canada, United States, and that's great, right? And then you're kind of thinking, okay, and now I want to get more diversified in terms of globally, but then you might look at into some more, like, other things, and you kind of always, you go in these little circles in terms of what you invest in. So I mean, for me, I getting into Tesla, and then you're changing it back, and it's almost like you come full circle, I guess, long story short, because you start off in like on a robo investor side where it's diversified. It's essentially like, then you look at something, you just go into something like XEQT, and you kind of come full circle and you're back to that, but you're doing it yourself. So it's just interesting, how your investments kind of how it changes over the years. Because it's a lot to manage, to pay attention to, right? You might, if you're invested in a lot of individual stocks, you might miss something and possibly should have sold something when you should, and you make that mistake. But yeah. Morgan Housel has a great lesson on the difference between getting rich and staying rich. Definitely worth checking out. I'm at the point of staying. That's the one thing you want to eventually. It's one thing to get rich, but you do want to stay rich. Good call. I'm gonna Google that one. Is that person on? Is it YouTube? On. Let me just. Probably interview. Morgan Housel, Building Wealth and Happiness. Looks like there's kind of a few. I'm going to bookmark this and save this to watch later. That looks like a good one. Talks about real definition of wealth and intricacies of building an wealth and happiness. I'll have to do some YouTube searching for that one. Frosty, good morning. Good to have you here. Hopefully your day is going well. 20 was your sweet spot. Enough to diversify in various industries, but small enough where each position will have notable effects on returns. Yeah, 20. I think with 20 would be too much for me to manage. You have to really be on top of it more, right? And I think that's partly too where if you have too many individual shares, and if you're trying to keep adding to them, and if you're wanting to build positions, that's where the psychology can kind of get in your way sometimes, because one of them will be like you might have bought something at a great price, it's gone up substantially, you wanted to add more, but then you start thinking back like, oh, I used to get it at this price, it's too expensive now, and then you don't add, but then you miss out on some, and that's where the psychology comes in for the individual ones. That's for sure. Yeah. Yeah, if you have too, and if you have too small of a position, it doesn't really do anything. It makes sense to your portfolio, but yeah, if it's 5%, it definitely, if something doubles and goes up like that, it would definitely have a big impact. Also the other way around, if it halves, it goes, it has also an impact. That's for sure. That's correct. Yeah. So if you have a unregistered account, you can write off gains against the losses if you have those are able to. You can also carry forward any kind of losses, that kind of thing. But obviously get a good accountant. Don't trust me on how to do write off your possible losses and gains and that kind of stuff. And that's a good. I think that's a good. That's a good thing that I have to. That's a good thing that I have to kind of get better at, is kind of take some money and run sometimes. Yeah, but always take profits. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with taking some money off the table and putting it into something else. Yeah, that's a good call, MC. MC, thanks for the help on that. Yeah, and it kind of always comes back to Chad's last comment, is take money and run. So Cineplex, I was up. Yeah, used to have if you used to have doubles or good gains, you take off back to bring the weighting down to 5%. So if you end up being 10%, I would sell it down to 5. Good call. That's definitely something I have to get better at. But good suggestion to and good things to work on, because it's always learning. It's always learning. But good call. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with taking a little bit of money, right? That's what you can't forget, because but it's the psychology thinking, okay, it's up this much, it's going to keep going, and that's the hard part. Vic, good to have you here. Haven't had you on the stream for a long time. Good to have you. Good to have you back. Good to have you back. Being prudent with portfolio construction is as important for long-term individual stock investing. Correct. Yeah, I agree. It's always a work. It's always a work in progress. That's for sure. Oh, and Vic you got in on that one. YTSL. That's in Quest. I think you have. Is it Quest Trade you have, Vic? I think Candace has some of that as well. I don't know if Candace is still watching. She might be gone, getting her tests and stuff done. But she had bought some of that one. Not available, I don't think, in Wealthsimple yet. But that was the new popular kind of Tesla yield share. It's yeah, good for you. That's cool. Those ones are always kind of those ones are always kind of fun. You own Shopify at $60 at $60 pre, so it kept selling as it went up. Hurt to sell to see it keep going up and up and selling down, but again, had to be prudent, manage risk. Well, but if you're making money, then in the long run, then it's always good. It's always good. Yep. Get well soon. We need her banana bread episodes. So Bank of Nova Scotia has GICs. GICs right now. I'm gonna say, I think it's 5-year GIC, as you said. So that's not bad. I mean, the thing is too, I mean, you're locking it in for 5 years, so that's good. But if you, I'm always leery with GICs. It's just, yeah, it's sometimes not good to lock up too much. I guess just be careful and don't lock up all your money, because you never know when you might kind of need something, right? That's the hard part. But if you have some extra funds to be able to do it, then sure. Vic's been on a shopping spree. I got more Shopify. That's good. Good. Going shopping for Shopify. A test tomorrow. Okay. Mortgages going up to 40 years now in Canada. Well, a lot of the mortgages are well over 40 years already, Vic. Anybody with a static variable payment is has a substantial amortization. The banks report in their quarterly, like in their reports, they report mortgage. They lump them all in as 30-year, like as mortgages with amortizations over 30 years. But I have seen I've seen mortgage uh, I've seen mortgage statements with 74 years. I think the biggest one I saw was 97 years or something like that. Like it was something ridiculous. It was seven. It was up, and then it was down to someone had did a lump sum payment to bring the amortization down, and I think the lump sum payment brought it only down to like 40 something. Like it was still well over 30 years. So it's yeah, I haven't heard anything about obviously the change like for new mortgages being extended amortizations like that, Vic. But who knows what will happen? I think yeah, that's something to watch. I think it's something to watch because people obviously that have to renew those mortgages at come renewal time, your amortization has to reset. As of right now, your amortization has to reset to your original amortization schedule. So we'll have to see. 30% of mortgages, 30, yeah, more. So when the reports say 30, they cap out. They cap out when the financials cap out at say 30 over 30 years. There's a lot of mortgages that are well over double that. That people might not know about, that they're, if they're static payment like that, it hasn't. They're not paying enough interest basically to. Their payment is mostly just covering interest and very, very little principal on there, which gives you a longer amortization. So you're kind of essentially renting. Yeah, that's the hard part too. If you sold something out, if it's for 500, eventually it went to 2,500. Sad, but that's life sometimes. Yeah, that's the thing. I always find if I sell something off MC, I don't look at it anymore. Like for example, I mean, I sold the Cineplex one for a bit of profit. I don't even look at Cineplex. I just don't even pay attention to it. But I guess, I mean, a Shopify one is a big one, so you're going to see that all over the news, unfortunately. But that's it's hindsight. Hindsight's always 2020. Playing out of cash these days, can anyone relate? Yeah, there's never enough cash on hand, Vic. That's for sure. I think just with everything being more expensive, right? Gas more expensive, groceries more expensive, housing. We're just talking about if your rent, possibly if you've moved, your rent is more expensive. Everything is more expensive. Services are more expensive. So that adds up, and it cuts into, I mean, you can see it if you. I mean, I know from buying groceries, I typically buy the same thing every week or so. Like you have your staples that you always kind of consistently buy, and the bill has gone up from. If you're spending $120, what you would normally spend on something, you buy the same stuff and now it's 150. So you can. There's definitely less extra money to go around. That is for sure. And then then of course, then you have expenses that you weren't necessarily expecting to have to pay. Car repair. That's going to be more expensive. You have to buy new tires or brakes or something for your car. That gets more expensive. Or you get some kind of bill for something that is unexpected, right? If you have appliances, appliances will break. There's always something that comes up. You seem to get one step ahead, and then something comes up and kicks you back to more. So yeah, that's the kind of thing you look back, right? They can haunt you. They haunt you both ways. If you hang on too long and then it goes down, you kick yourself. If you sell too soon, you kick yourself. And you're always kind of considering what could have been, but it's probably better mentally to try as best you can, right, to move forward. But it's Vic nails it here. They do. It requires like a strong stomach, and it can be like super humbling sometimes because you just realize you don't know everything, and is never. It's sometimes it's a lot of luck, right? So you're lucky a couple times. I think you had mentioned it was a Constellation software you did quite well on too, MC. I think if you get lucky, so that's good. That's good. And if you're in the right, end up being in the right thing, it can definitely be life changing. That's for sure. It's, I think, stomaching some. I mean, I think that's partly my Tesla play a little bit. I don't have a. I mean, I don't have. It's not a huge portion of my portfolio into Tesla, but it is definitely weighted a bit more than I would normally have, which I still want to keep adding to it. That's something I want to still kind of build on, because I think in the next 10, 15, 20 years that will probably, I think, be a good thing, and I can wait that one out, just with all they're doing. Yeah, we'll see. They've had their good run though too, but I think there's still some room for it to happen. I thought you worked. Vic. I thought you were working, but yeah, you kind of need a job sometimes to get a mortgage. That's for sure. Helps, unless you wanted a private mortgage. You don't necessarily need a job, but you need equity in that case. So yeah, there we go. Oh, this one has gone fast, everybody. Well, this we always get chatting and have these good conversations. Definitely really appreciate it. Makes the morning goes fast and gets me motivated for the day, which is awesome. So we have a lot of people. Always have a lot of people joining in. So if there's anybody here that hasn't hit the like button, hit the like button. It's always good. So you're in the base. Yeah, you're in the basement. I lived with my mom for a while. My dad's is in a nursing home, but I lived with my parents for a bit. This past year, helped my mom out for a bit. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. It's nice because you don't have to. I don't know, when you're old, when you're older, sometimes it's not the greatest to live with your parents, but because you're both kind of set in your ways with certain things, but it works. It's kind of nice because as your parents get older, as much as they start to drive you crazy when they're my mom hopefully is not watching, but as much as they drive you crazy, if they're not around, you'll miss them more. So you just have to try and stomach staying around. But I don't live there anymore, obviously, and it's it's always fun. But if you're in a basement and have a separate basement suite, that's okay. I could see myself doing that. My mom isn't not in a house with a basement, so it's kind of more close quarters. And MC has not a huge part of it. I think maybe about 5K worth. Yeah, I'm not near the 5K mark, but it's over. Considering with if I counting in the Tesla yield shares and the CDRs, it's definitely over my 5% cap. That's for sure. But that's one I want to add to. Where should I put it? No bank. I'm not sure of your question there, Chad. About that. You might retype that maybe. I'm not sure. A type mistake. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. It's true. But we probably annoy them too, right? I mean, they had to look after us as kids growing up for, 18, 19 or whatever, how many years, and I'm sure we drove them absolutely bonkers. So it's their turn to, when it turns and you have to start helping them out. It's probably how they felt as you were a kid, driving them mental. But yeah, it's always good to it's good to go visit and spend the weekend or something like that in smaller doses for sure. It's good. Spend some time. But all right, well, there we go. Coming up on 9 o'clock. So thanks everybody for tuning in. It's all good. Well, yeah, lots of I mean, I don't have kids. I'm not a kid, not a kids fan, but yeah, that's a lot of work as well. My coworker is going away on holidays pretty soon, and he's got 2 little ones, and it's like Good luck. Good luck with that. It's like hard enough to look after them on a regular day home, let alone having to trug them along for traveling. I don't have I wouldn't have the patience for that. That's why yeah. Yeah, that's exactly kind of what happens. Yeah, not you need to go to next time you need to go to a resort, or I mean it depends where you I don't know if the resort you stayed at MC, because you said you're away is adults only is the way to go. Is the way to go. Then you don't have to worry about that unless you're traveling with a group or something that has some kids to go. But adults only, I think, is the way to go. There we go. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning in. I will have the live stream scheduled later on the channel. Thanks for tuning in live. These are always awesome conversations. How we get going, learn lots. Hopefully you learned a thing as well. MC, yeah, there you go. Adults only. Never go to family resorts. I don't go to. I've only been to recently adults only, but haven't been away for a long time. So. Maybe I have to book a vacation now. Now you got me thinking about it. But the weather's nice. The weather's nice here. It's spring. It's spring outside. I can tell because my nose gets stuffed up with the blossoms and stuff coming out with the pollen when the spring is starting to hit. So, thanks everybody. I said it twice. Thanks for watching. I do have to get time to get to work. Thanks for tuning in. It's always good. I'll have the live stream scheduled for tomorrow, 8 o'clock. So if you see it pop up on YouTube, you can set that notification. We'll catch you live tomorrow. Thanks for everybody tuning in. It was always good to have the coffee crew. Thanks again for everybody that is joined as a channel member. Always appreciated. And as Vic says, as we go, get well soon, Candace. We'll catch you all